Washington mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
Good morning, everybody. It is 6:37 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. Brian Wilson, Brian Neiman. You doing okay there, Nemo?
Pretty good.
All right. Well, that's because you haven't looked at your 401k lately. It's in the tank. I'll just tell you now, it's not pretty. Don't look. You don't want to know.
Have you been looking at it?
Huh?
Have you been looking at it?
I've been looking not at yours, but at mine, and I'm telling you, it's grim, folks. In fact, the stock market was grim on Friday. All gains for the year have been erased. It looks like we might even go into negative territory today. Jobless numbers are up. Europe is in complete disarray. Oh, my gosh, how low will it go? How bad will it get? Here to give us his cheery assessment is Jim Pethokoukis. He's a writer for the American Enterprise Institute and a CNBC contributor and all-around good guy. Hey, Jim, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Well, how low do you think it's going to go, and how grim will it be?
I'm not going to make a stock market prediction, but I will say that the economy is not on a good trajectory right now. And if we listen, we're at a pace that if anything goes wrong, and things seem to be going wrong, we're going to slip back into recession. If we slip back into recession, not only will the wrong things go lower, like the stock market, but then some things will go higher, like the unemployment rate.
Yeah.
All right, we talk about Europe a lot, but I heard that China and India are having problems, or some surprising numbers are coming out of China and India. Can you expand on that?
Oh, listen, there's really no place on the globe where you're getting any good economic news. I mean, the good piece of economic news is that right now, America is the world's growth engine. But the bad news right now is that America is also the world's growth engine because we're not growing very fast. The Indian economy is slowing. China is slowing sharply. People are extremely worried because the way their economy is structured, even though if it's growing 8%, that's great, but not really. There's a lot of bad loans on the books of Chinese banks. If their growth rates just start dropping to 7 or 6, which would still be great by our standards, you can have a lot of banks go bust. They have a property bubble that could explode there, implode there. So Asia, which has really been a nice driver for the economy over the past few years, that's slowing sharply. Europe seems like it's going to a deeper recession, and of course we have the U.S. economy, which is sputtering.
All right, so if we're the growth engine, are we with like a lawnmower? Are we talking like a Chevy Volt engine? I mean, where is our engine right now? Is there any
one of them weed whacker engines?
I think you beat me to it. I think the weed whacker engine is about it right now, and even that's sputtering. Listen, there was a very weak employment report. All the Wall Street banks are all downgrading their forecast for the rest of the year. So I think really at best, what you're looking at is, and I think would Obama take this over what's behind door number 3? You can have 2% GDP growth and 8% unemployment, which is where we're at right now, or you can have like the mystery package.
Right.
Well, I think he would take this as bad as it is, because in that mystery package, it's more likely to look like another recession, 10% unemployment, and him losing about 40 states in November.
All right, it's starting to feel like that there's some panic going on. I mean, sometimes that happens. I mean, are we reliving 2008 again? Is it a different scenario? Do you sense that type of panic now that perhaps we didn't see until maybe August of 2008 the last time around?
Well, if the thing that could, listen, there's a great amount of worry, and the thing that could really turn that worry into panic is if things get any worse in Europe. Because not only is it bad for Europe, it'd be extremely bad for China. It'd be bad for us because of trade, because who knows what kind of crazy, bank, trading strategies are based on Europe. Plus, it'd be just a tremendous psychological downer for us. So yeah, when you're already talking about economies which are very weak, and then you add in what could be the most catastrophic currency crisis in the history of the world. I think there's worry. I think there's reason to be disturbed, alarmed, and kind of bracing for the worst.
All right, so how does this play out politically in an election year?
Well, listen, I think already you've seen the impact of the... Listen, back in January, there was a lot of hype. The economy turned a corner. We're getting a lot of jobs. If you look at those consumer surveys, people weren't still thrilled about their current situation, but they were very, very hopeful for the future. I think that hope is beginning to diminish. That's bad for the president. There's been some polls out showing him maybe a little bit behind, maybe Romney ahead. If we're still looking at like another 5 months of this, I think the president is in very, very difficult shape come November.
Yeah, I mean, aren't there some studies out there that say that historically, when the jobless rate is where it is, that the incumbent does not get reelected? I mean, I think Ronald Reagan is the only guy who's ever bucked that trend.
Well, I'm not a big believer looking at like the absolute number. I am a believer in looking at our jobs becoming more plentiful or less plentiful, our incomes growing or shrinking. And if you sort of extrapolate what we're seeing for the rest of the year, certainly that kind of economic situation should let Mitt Romney win by 4 or 5 points.
We're talking with Jim Pethokoukis, writer at the American Enterprise Institute, and also CNBC contributor on Europe. And you were talking about a currency crisis. Obviously, the euro is in danger, but are we talking about, maybe Greece leaving the euro, going back to their own currency, or are we talking about the possibility of the euro going away? And if that happens, if the euro falls apart, doesn't the European Union also fall apart?
Listen, if you read analyses of what happens, if not just Greece leaves, and I think if Greece leaves, I think there's also a good chance you're gonna end up with Spain leaving, Italy leaving. If the euro continues to exist, then it exists in some smaller form where it's just maybe the northern European states, Germany, Netherlands, Austria. It would be. Listen, if it was going to happen over the next 2 or 3 years, where countries could begin to prepare, it might not be that bad. If it were to happen very soon, in a very disorderly fashion,
right? Yeah,
I think at that point you're talking about Europe going into a depression, and probably a global depression. Certainly, I think every bit as bad as what we saw in 2008, and we just had one of those, and to have one again. I'd really rather not think about it.
Well, there he is, ray of sunshine, Jim Pethokoukis.
Go hit me a home run, slugger.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you coming in, Jim.